Even in the blackness, Jack could see the smooth gleam of his cheeks and the glint of his shiny fair hair beneath his cap. "This kind of thing is so bad for morale," went on Massie. "How can one expect the men to evince a proper fighting spirit when they have this to contend with?" The question did not need an answer. Bill Massie believed that a proper fighting spirit would win the war. Jack thought it tantamount to suicide. To send tired, loyal, baffled men over the top, simply to maintain an offensive posture, how he loathed the phrase, was to provide enemy artillery with a vast, unmissable target. The much-vaunted élan of the charge, whether by infantry or cavalry, was nothing but a cruel sham in this war, a vain, naive anachronism, paid for with carnage on an unprecedented scale. "Christ! What's that, sir?" "Nothing." There was over a mile of the communication trench still to negotiate, and the going was appalling. Since the middle of October, Jack had kept a masochistic record. There had been only 8 dry days, and half of those had been below freezing. The area around Wesergem displayed all the classic properties of the Flanders countryside. It was below sea level, with above-average rainfall. You only had to dig down a few feet to strike water, and that which glooped up from the earth was instantly swelled by that which pattered down from above. Sometimes Jack felt that the war was being fought on a slippery, floating wad of mud, tenuously suspended between endless water. As it was, this was the only trench currently in use leading to this part of the sector. The rest were flooded out, and the troops were forced to follow the rim of the trench and risk the numerous hazards contingent upon such a course of action. There was a very real danger of drowning, either in the trench itself or in one of the shell craters that bordered it. It was unbelievably difficult to drag a man out of the slough once it had taken a grip on him. Only a few weeks ago they had been obliged to abandon a soldier from No. 3 platoon who had stumbled into a shell hole. They had done all they could without jeopardizing the lives of more men, but when the bobbing green slime reached his mouth and choked his cries, they had given up. His horrified, bulging eyes had screamed at them, and one hand had pawed at the viscous surface before he went under and the water closed over him. The memory had haunted Jack for no more than an hour. In that time they had passed another 20-odd visible corpses, in various stages of disintegration. The soldier from No. 3 platoon simply took his place in their ranks. He was lucky in a way. The 77 pounds of equipment, the greatcoat leaden with liquid mud, the 10-pound pair of boots that had pulled him down, had now been exchanged for a regulation harp standard issue. The steady hiss of the rain was punctuated by the suck and squelch of the men's boots and the occasional pithily worded complaint. There was a slither and a loud splash a little way back, and Jack halted. It could mean one of two things. Either part of the side of the trench had collapsed, or someone had fallen. He peered back into the gloom. "Shall I go and take a look, sir?" "If you would, Captain Massie." Massie trudged away. His legs straddled to get some purchase in the mud. The man behind him leaned against the side of the trench. Every respite was a bonus. Jack reflected that the men of B Company already looked less like soldiers than mutations risen from the primeval swamp. He shifted his feet a little to prevent them sinking. Massie returned. "All right, sir?" "Fellow fell asleep on his feet." "On the go again now, is he?" "Yes, sir." "And not hurt?" "No, sir, just wet." They moved off again. A very flare from the German lines a mile and a half away shot into the sky and momentarily illuminated the scene, like sheet lightning, so that they felt vulnerable although they were below ground level. It exposed the oily, heterogeneous nature of the liquid through which they waded. At shortly after 21 hours, it had taken a full hour to walk the last half-mile, B Company waded into the front-line trench and began to distribute themselves along the length of the traverses and fire bays while the 3rd Lancasters moved out. There was